Welcome everybody, welcome in everybody. We'll be starting here very, very shortly. As I do, of course, at the top of every podcast, I get my GoFundMe up here on the screen. Again, because I've been in a little bit of rush this morning, I haven't updated the thing here, but the donated so far is 510, not 460 of our goal. Still obviously a long, long way to go, but this is a really huge move. But I just wanted to shout everybody out and thank everybody that's donated so far or shared this out. Even if you can't donate, just sharing it out, word of mouth is a great, great help to me and my kids for our cause. And I just want everybody to know that I appreciate y'all, I love y'all, and me and my babies cannot thank you all enough. The generosity and even just as I said, the sharing out from making friendships and stuff like that is just so overwhelmingly grateful, and cannot thank you enough. And thank everybody that continues to share it out or donates in the future. Even if it's just $5 or £5 or whatever, every little bit helps. So again, thank you, and we'll be starting here very, very shortly. We've got a good show ahead for you. A big debut in AEW, of course, and sure Paul can't wait to touch on that, as well as a couple of pay-per-views that happened on the weekend. But we will be kicking off here in a few moments. Thank you, everybody. Welcome, all you wrestling fans, to the 15th episode of the Pop-Up Powerbomb podcast. I'm your host, the breathtaking one, Spooky. Tonight, wrestling fans, we share our thoughts on WrestleDream, No Mercy. Adam Copeland is all elite. Oh my. A lot in store. I got my coffee. I hope y'all got yours, or a nice cold beverage and snacks. So it is everyone ready for story time with the breathtaking one and Paul, baby. Once Paul gets his old ass in here. Shout out to everybody that's lurking. Shout out to everybody in the chat, of course, from the Rockin' One, my lovely girl Trinity, Pyro, and of course Timmy from across the pond. Always great to see you two brothers, and appreciate your support always. Appreciate the lurkers. Again, you don't have to be typing in the chat, but I do hope that you hit that like, and if you haven't subscribed to the 4GQ TV channel, that you subscribe. There's a lot of great content, creators on this channel, so you'll find something for everybody here. And let's get right into it, because I think we've got Paul in the building now. Paul, my brother.
I see you decided to run the show without me tonight. That's okay. I mean, whatever.
How you going, brother?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right.
I had a chance to watch the WWE pay-per-view, which was okay. And I didn't get a chance to watch the other one. But I tried, and the only thing I could get a hold of is the pre-show, which is really annoying. So
I'm quite sure, though, that you you heard the big news because it's been absolutely everywhere, all over
Oh,
social
the
media.
signing, the signing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man, we'll get into that once we get into WrestleDream. But
yep.
because
Well,
Carlo,
yeah, we had a couple of big signings. Jade Cargill over to WWE. So
I'll put it this way: I think just at the time being, I think AEW won out on the swap. So
yeah, I did.
basically,
I think they did as well.
yeah. Jade, as we've discussed many times, and I've got nothing against Jade. I think she's got a wonderful look for a wrestler. And I do think that she's got a good attitude to learn, but she does have a long way to go. She is still quite green. And look, I'm praying. I know she's hard at work in the Performance Center, and she will put in that work, but I'm praying that they don't put her on the main roster straight away. I think that won't do her justice. I'd like to see her have at least a good 12 months, maybe even more, run in NXT before you brought her up. I know.
I was gonna say she's more fit for NXT right now.
Yeah,
she
needs
brought
that
into
time.
the program.
Exactly. Yeah. I know they're gonna feel a need, probably due to her look and that. I mean, she does. She looks like a superhero.
Yeah.
She kind of looks like a real life version of Storm from the X-Men.
Yeah.
But I know they're going to feel a need to rush her up, but look, I'd prefer that you didn't do a rush job with her. Give her that time. As I said, she's from what Cody's even said, he's known her since AEW. She's got a very good attitude, very good work ethic. So I just want to see her get that time before bringing her up. And I think when the time comes, you'll know when the time's right to bring her up, and she'll do really well.
They actually, I think the main roster for WWE, especially the Raw side or the SmackDown, they have a strong women's roster. There's no reason to rush her up. There's no reason to rush her up at all.
No, there's not. No, they've got a very healthy female contingent there, and as I said, I think she needs that run in NXT. I think she'll be beneficial down there. Shawn Michaels will help her out a lot. And I know Triple H, he's got a big part in her signing and stuff like that, and as well as Cody. Cody will definitely be in her ear as well. So no, I think it's good, but I think right now, just at the start, I think AEW's got a very good signing. We're going to touch on that as well because Carlo shared something to me just before the show. A female fan of his, of Adam Copeland, aka formerly known as Edge, has been going off at people saying he's tarnishing his legacy, he should never have left WWE, blah, 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 blah. So we're going to get into that as well. That's a topic in itself. But first topic of the evening, I thought, why not start with this, considering I know it made me happy, would have made you happy when I tagged you in it yesterday. It's just a matter of where they end up. But for those that got into the wrestling TV drama called Heels, that's partly sort of run by Stephen Amell. It's his baby, being a big, huge wrestling fan himself. We all thought it was cancelled. It's been cancelled on Stars, but it come out just, I think, yesterday that it's not completely gone. In light now of the Hollywood writers' strike coming to an end, Heels showrunner Mike O'Malley spoke to Entertainment Weekly and revealed that they are now shopping the series around to other outlets. He said, we are actively doing it right now. They are actually penning and talking with Stephen Amell about season 3, so they're getting that ready. And most of the actors, as he said, are still under contract. So obviously it's good that the writer's strike just ended. He also said, because they couldn't have any conversations about this until, just in the last week, they would have been able to start having conversations.
Though, real quick, to clarify, according to that article, they didn't find out they were canceled until we did.
No, they didn't. They didn't know.
They didn't know until Friday.
No.
But as soon as they found out, they started moving the ball to try and get it somewhere else. So.
Yeah. And, he said, O'Malley noted that season 2 for now was a cliffhanger. and it was certainly not intended to be the last episode of the series. So fans, may recall too that Amel has dabbled in a few pro wrestling matches outside of heels. He made his WWE ring debut at SummerSlam 2015. Also competed at All In 2018. Season 2 obviously featured notable appearances from CM Punk and his wife AJ Lee, who's a former wrestler in her own right. I still love Punk's name on the show, Ricky Rabies.
Yeah. And the whole gag with the blood and stuff.
Yeah. So look, I'm pretty confident that somewhere else will pick it up. Stephen Amell is a phenomenal actor. Actually, so is his co-partner on there. What's his name? Alexander Ludwig, who plays his brother. He's a great young actor himself. I think the writing is really good for that show. That's why I was just as bewildered as you, man, when it came out. Stars was. I'm like, are you really cancelling a really good show that, from all accounts that I've seen around, was actually being spoke of positively and doing pretty damn well. But we've seen this before too. Like we're so used to shows, if they're not doing well, getting cancelled. But we've also seen shows in the past that has taken people off guard. Like, but the ratings were good. Like, the positive. Like, what are you doing? Netflix has done that a few times. And
I also noticed that he didn't. He went out of his way to say they understood what Stars did and no hard feelings, and Stars put a lot behind it. So who knows what's going to happen there, because he's trying not to burn that bridge.
No, I mean, maybe Stars comes back to the table if they notice that they're close to signing someone and goes, we've had second thoughts on this. Maybe we jumped the gun a bit too soon, which I think they did. Maybe they only did it because of the writer's strike, thinking, okay, this has slowed things up. Maybe they're not prepared. So, and maybe they were just looking at cuts and.
Look, which happens a lot during the strike. It's not the only show that's been affected by that. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Cobra Kai's final season and Stranger Things' final season, for example, have been held up because of this. I think they were both meant to have their final seasons this year, which isn't happening now. They'll be out next year now because they're able to come back to the table and write. But this is great news for, me and you and other fans of the show, because I thought that, apart from the wrestling side of it and being a wrestling fan, wrestling show,
it's a good show.
Yeah, it had great drama.
Some of those are a little but for the most part, it was a really well put together show.
I mean, I like the whole storyline with their dad and everything too. But I love the other guy who runs the other promotion.
Yeah,
he's fucking funny.
he just chews up the scenery whenever he's on the screen, man.
And I love their dad's best friend, the cowboy and the stuff. Yeah, the way he presents himself. He kind of reminds me of Jake the Snake a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, he actually does, but quite a bit actually.
Yeah, with his attitude and stuff. And the episode where he poops himself.
Yeah.
And he just kept going with it. I'm just like, look at this dude, man.
And he's laying there, he's going, I shit myself. Just go with it. I'm like, oh crap.
Just go with it. Yeah. And like, I know he was sort of in the back scene for a little while, but they sort of made him a bit more prominent in the last few episodes. But I like Rooster, who was initially with their promotion. He crossed over. The female, I wasn't too sure on her when it first started, because it's not like they had too much for it. But then, she was a bit more prominent in this second season, and sort of you've seen her come out of her shell. And she's a good young actress herself. Like, as I said, they've got a good cast of actors, and I just thought it was it was tremendous writing. I don't think there was too much negative that you could say about. Like you said, there was a few little bits and bobs here and there. But for the most part,
because when I was watching it, I was like, okay. I mean, some parts of it, it really draws out your emotion. Stephen Amell is really good at doing that, though.
Oh yeah, Like, even with the flashbacks with their dad,
Yeah.
like the guy playing their
Yeah.
dad, like,
Yeah.
that was getting the emotion because, especially this season, where you see
Well,
him.
yeah, they showed the suicide and all that stuff.
Yeah, but you see him where
Yeah.
he's getting the call up to WCW, and Ted Turner kept stuffing him around, like inviting him up, and then he'd just be sitting there,
Right.
twiddling his thumbs, and then the dude would come out, oh, sorry, Ted's not going to see you. He's like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
And, like, he, you see Steven where he's trying, like, his character's trying to, this is another flashback, he's doing that high-flying move into the dumpster with all the padding. His dad's like, look,
Yeah.
you're built like me. You're not, what are you trying to do, be Rey Mysterio or something?
Yeah.
You're not a high flyer, you're a ground pound, you're a technical guy. Like, and that's why that cliffhanger was, I mean, he pulled the move off really well. And then, because he was meant to get up, and like his brother, and he's like, no, you get up. This before he actually says what's actually wrong. He goes, no, it's your time to shine with this new character. He goes, no, if we don't do this, he's, that other pro, he's going to sue you. We're going to lose everything. And
the other promotional guy is just, since he doesn't know.
No, he has
just
no idea. He's
really,
going off. He's like, F you and F you. And like, because he just thinks that they've gone into business for himself. And then like his wife comes over and she's like, what's wrong? He goes, I can't feel my legs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I even sat there, man, I had a tear coming down my eye because I'm like, oh shit, the poor bastard's going to be fucking paraplegic here. Like, because I watched that final episode twice, and I watched the way he done. I'm like, I wonder how this has happened because he looked like he landed the move well,
correctly. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going,
Why?
I don't know what the maybe.
Well, it may have been done some because I used to help coach football, and they used to, especially if they dropped their head when they went to do a shot.
Yeah.
They would do what they called a stunner, basically stun their spinal cord.
Yeah.
To where they would just drop. I mean,
See, the only thing he was used to doing high flying, which he did do in that match, was jumping off and doing an elbow, which was a basic move. Whereas this, he was doing a shooting star press. And I'm like, maybe he hurt himself doing the turn in the air and then the impact of the land. But like, that's why he said to me, he goes, look, no, you're going to have to get us. One of us has to get out. It has to be you because I can't move. Like, I'm injured, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I can't move here. So I thought,
and he even had a tear in his eye at the end. So, you're
did.
like, oh, shit.
Like, oh, shit. Yeah, because then you see the ghost of his dad saying, see, I told you not to do the move,
Yep.
And so I was like, man, that was a heck of a way to... That's why I was so annoyed when I heard that started Ken. I'm like, come on, you can't leave us hanging.
So I would say anybody who's listening to this or watching this, if you haven't watched it yet and you have access to Stars, watch it. Yeah. And then message them and tell them they've made a mistake.
Oh,
okay?
Yeah. Like, this... And this is a passion project for him because, as I said, Stephen Amell loves wrestling. He always has.
Right.
And... That's why he wanted to do something completely different after doing many, many years as Green Arrow. And as I said, this is fantastic. I could at least see them getting at least 5 or 6 seasons out of this, if with the storylines. Because it's not, you got a lot going on, not just the wrestling side of it. You know what I mean? Like, you've got the relationship between him and his brother.
The family side between his brother and his mother. And
And then... finding out in this season all the dirty deals and how the hell their promotion's been hanging on. Like, when Blondie goes and shows his wife, this is the garden. This is like a tax write-off. I'm sitting there going, look at that. There's nothing growing in the damn thing or anything. And then, even her conflict, because the other promoter was trying to get in her ear, like, you haven't been treated right. Like, when you come over away from me, I'm down here in Miami, and you could be in this bigger promotion, bigger thing, and I actually think, to be quite fair, like, I'd like to see, like, their promotion sort of, like, I don't know, combined because Steven's character, was a good writer, like, when it come to writing the storylines and that, and the other guy appreciated his writing. I'm like, if you two could just get over your BS, like, you run a big promotion, you get Steven to write the story, like, two good brains coming together would be forming the ultimate kind of promotion alliance, because they did put on a hell of a show, like, so I was like, this could go in a couple of different directions, but we'll have to wait to see. Like, I'm quite sure HBO might be interested in that. TNT might even be interested in it. You know, because it's still wrestling. It's a wrestling sort of drama show. So there's a few networks I could see coming to the table for it.
And I could see if they could get it on TNT or one of the actual that already has wrestling.
Yeah.
Maybe they could get some of the guys to come over officially from WWE or NXT or whatever, or
AEW
as themselves, as it were.
Yeah.
To kind of give more legitimacy to the program, which it already has.
Pyro says in the chat, he goes, if you say his name enough, the arrow will show up and DDT you, Spooky. Be cautious.
Well, I was going to say, if you notice his brother, if you look at his makeup with the dark around the eyes and stuff, it kind of reminded me of Arrow. That's what he used to do.
He did. Hey,
especially when he was wearing the hood.
Yeah. No.
So people like and share this stuff out, man. Don't just sit there. Like it, share it, let people know.
That's it. All right, so on to the next one, which is topic, which is another little interesting tidbit before we get into the pay-per-views and stuff here. An old school wrestler has had Al Snow. For those that might remember Al Snow, he's gone to
yes.
Detail.
Took me a second, but yeah. He's
gone to detail the uncomfortable lengths he went with head to maintain his WWE career. Where he used to come out with the mannequin head.
Yes.
So protecting kayfabe may no longer be as important in wrestling as it once was, but in the past it was very, very crucial. Some wrestlers going to extreme level to ensure their characters were shown in real life as they were on television. That's something that Al Snow would do, as he would take head to restaurants with him for meals in case a fan would see him. That would have been interesting. That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
He turned on, and I quote, Al says, I would go in, and believe me, it was not comfortable to do. I'd stand there and I'd say, hey, we need a table for two. And then I'd sit him down and I'd argue with him and fight with them because of the fact they weren't eating. While Snow's decision to place a mannequin head on the table with him as if they were a real person makes for a funny story in itself, it also showcases how hard Snow was willing to work for this gimmick to get over, even if it led to some awkward moments. So Al Snow went on to say, the waiter or the waitress or the manager would come over and say, sir, you've got to leave. You're making the other guests uncomfortable. And I'd be like, well, they're making us uncomfortable. So who's going to win here? Then I'd get escorted out of the restaurant, he said. Snow would also take head to the gym, often placing it on the treadmill, but the reason behind it all was that if someone saw him in public acting this way and then saw him do the same on television, they'd tell their family that is who they saw in real life. He said, let's face it, I did some ridiculous stuff, and you'll believe in anything I do now because you believe I'm actually really crazy. He said it was actually very fun times. Man, like, he did. Like, and back in his day even, and this was in the Attitude Era, a lot of them, like Ric Flair would straight out tell you himself, he lived his gimmick. He really fucking did, man. They would back then, and as I said, like, these days, there's not so much protecting the kayfabe. But back in their days, right, even the Attitude Era, they would have the heels go on separate buses and separate planes to the baby faces, so they weren't sitting together. Because people would be tuning in going, these two hate each other's guts. You know, and the last thing...
Same with, and just like if they were in a restaurant together, they wouldn't be friendly, you wouldn't see them...
No.
You know, you'd...
They did everything to protect that. Like, JBL is another one. Like, people legitimately... He's not, but people legitimately thought he was an arsehole because when he wasn't even on the screen or in the ring, he would still act that JBL character, rich, snobby arsehole. And so people bought into, like, this bastard's a freaking asshole. You know, and he played the part well. You know, a lot of them did back then. Like, you wouldn't have seen, for example, especially when they were feuding, Stone Cold and The Rock sitting in the same bus or the same plane. Right? But no, for Al, God, that could have got some interesting
Yeah.
looks, man.
Well, that's why I've always wondered with like a Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man,
Right.
when he would, even on the shows, he would like have a kid and say, do 10 push-ups or whatever, or, juggle this soccer ball. And he would always stop them from earning the money. It's like, did they tell the kid before that he was going to do that shit? Or did,
Right.
because he really sold it. I mean, and you either had to really do it to a kid, then pull him aside and go, no, we were just screwing around. Or you had to have a really good actor kid to really look like he was kind of upset that he just got gypped out of $100 or $1,000 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Because if you go back and watch some of those, they were really awkward,
Oh, exactly.
And yeah.
And as I said, that for him though, I can just imagine that. So I've got to find it funny. Walking into a gym.
I gotta say, if you didn't know who Al Snow was and you watched that in a restaurant, you'd be like, "What the fuck?"
Could you imagine going into the gym and like you're on the treadmill next to him and you're looking over like, "What the fuck is going on here?" Like, what the, And so he acted as crazy as what he did on television. I thought, I mean, honestly, that's. I mean, he would have got some, like he said, some real strange looks. He got asked to leave several restaurants, like. Well, I could just imagine him in the movie theater and like he's initially put head on the backrest and then the head's falling down. Like people are like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on here? Oh man, it would have just been awkward just him walking around with the damn thing, like But I remember him coming out. He used to charge down the ring with it. And then I think it was in his song. What does everybody want? What does everybody need? And so the whole fans had chanted, man. And of course this was back in the Attitude Era where they were, borderline nearly doing a lot of MA to R rated stuff.
Oh yeah, that's where Generation X and Suck It All came in. And all that.
A lot of sexual stuff, I mean, that's how the ladies were used. Even back then, they weren't used as proper wrestlers. They were used for the mud wrestling matches or the pillow fights and, bra and panties matches and, But no, they all did. Like,
by the way, let me just reiterate. I've said it before. The Fabulous Moolah bra and panty match was the ugliest thing I have ever seen.
Oh, how about the time that her and Mark Henry were doing the relationship thing and she had a baby and it ended up being a hand?
Yeah.
It was just a hand, bro. No, like, they did some wild things, man. Wild things back in those days. And, I mean, as I said, just hearing Al Snow's story, I could just imagine him just walking around everywhere with the damn head in his hand, and talking and screaming, like, because that's what he'd do on TV too, like, because he was, people thought his character was nuts. And he's sitting there talking ahead, and then he'd put head up towards his ear as if head's, whispering to him and stuff. And I think the only person that really got him, or wasn't too worried about him, was Mick Foley, because Mick Foley, I think, from a character point of view.
Well, Mick Foley had Sacco. I mean, for God's sake.
Talk to his And he always pulled it out from his crotch. That's what I thought was funny. I was like, oh, damn, that's going to be pretty smelly. People, hey, what's good, graphic guy? What's good, Jay? I mean, like, people would have thought him taking it off his foot would have been smelly, but where he was pulling it from, like... I was like, good God,
that's
man.
right up there with having Yokozuna doing that ass bomb on you.
Oh,
like,
man,
no, I'm
good. But no, as I said, like, he's not wrong. And like, as I mentioned, he's not the only one who acted. They all did that to maintain.
Yeah, they all did it.
These days, you don't see them protecting that as much. Like, the heels and faces will be seen out in public together, and I think it's more so because today, I think. A lot of wrestling fans
today I think a lot of people, if they took the heels seriously, the heels would actually get hurt.
Yes.
Because people would think,
I think it's because wrestling fans now, they're just too cluey, they're just too smart, like, so they know that, look, they might be acting on TV that they're not getting along, but we know they go backstage. They'd be treating it more like sport, like, okay, while they're on that field or on that basketball, their enemies are going at it, but after that, then they're having beers together, and, so, and I mean, for me personally, I was always, smart like that. I was like, these two really don't hate. I mean, don't get me wrong. There was times that, and there still is times that promoters will actually use real life tension between wrestlers and bring it onto the screen. So I'm not saying that there isn't actually wrestlers that dislike each other. I mean, just look at how many people dislike CM Punk.
Yeah.
Right? So, but a lot of the time, I'll say more times than not, they are just acting it on screen, and they're actually best friends. We're about to see, for example, a play out on AEW television. Two best friends. They're that close that he's Adam Copeland's daughter's basically godfather, uncle. So him and Christian, they're the best of friends, but they're about to be enemies on the screen, and that's going to be the first feud by the looks of it. But that, which we'll get onto in a minute, that's one of the main reasons that he signed with AEW. Was his daughter. One of his daughters turned around and said, "Go and join Uncle Jay, which is Christian, and go have fun with him." So they and a lot of the time these wrestlers aren't close like that, and I actually find that's where you get some really, really good feuds because they're so close, because that chemistry is twofold.
Well, yeah, because if you look back and you see who Roman trained with.
Right.
Back through his history, he trained with some of these guys that he's now quote feuding with.
Yeah. So no, shout out to Al Snow, and I mean I'm quite sure Mick. Rey Mysterio, for example, right? Rey Mysterio. Before we move on,
right?
He used to go around all the time back in WCW's days when he was a cruiserweight. You would never ever. I mean, probably the only place you would see that man, and you wouldn't. His wife would have. With the mask off would be the house. When he was outside the house, even if it had nothing to do with wrestling, he'd have that mask on, right?
Right.
And I know the mask is a big thing in Lucha Libre, but generally they only have the mask on when it's something to do with wrestling, whether that's convention, whether they're actually having... If they're not,
right,
because they're wearing a mask and people, the general public haven't seen them, they're not going to recognise them when they haven't got their mask off. Right,
so, which would make it interesting. Maybe that's why he wore the mask. He knew it was the only way he'd be recognized.
Yeah, But he used to live with that mask on, basically. The only time probably he had it off was at home. And
talk about something that probably smelled bad, by the way. Yeah.
Exactly. And then, of course, WCW made him take the mask off, which he was pushing against. But they made him take the mask off, which I actually thought... at that time, even looking back now, was still a stupid idea.
Yep.
Not that he was not that I'm saying he's a stupid idea because he's not an ugly guy, but he's just he's a luchador. That's their thing. I mean, it's not always their thing. I mean, Eddie Guerrero, he wore a mask when he very, 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 very first started in Mexico, but then I'd say a good 90% of his career he wasn't under a mask. So.
But see, part of it now is we both watched this guy in AEW who wears a mask and who does the commentating, and he looks like an idiot. Okay, I mean, and
he's not even Mexican.
it's to me, it's hard to take a guy seriously and have a conversation.
Another person that used to wear a mask was Sami Zayn when he was on the indie scene wrestling as El Generico.
I like that El Generico.
El Generico, he wore a mask, but I think that was actually given to him because he got the name and that when he went down to Mexico.
Right.
So I mean, he might not be Mexican per se, but he was there for a period of time, and he really encompassed it all.
And he kind of earned it. He kind of earned it.
He did. Yeah. But no, that was his name. It was so funny, man. El Generico. But no, I mean, kayfabe, no longer around. They don't really care much for it, and I can understand why times have changed, but it is what it is. But yes, let's get into the pay-per-view. So we'll start first with NXT's No Mercy. Well, first off, I want to say before we go over these matches, brother, I freaking loved the intro to this pay-per-view where he puts in the No Mercy game into the N64. And they put all the NXT wrestlers that they put them in the game, like the way they did it at the start. I was like, oh man, this is such a throwback, you know. And I think WWE understands, excuse me, how beloved that game still is to this day. Hence why the AEW game was pretty much made after it. That game, even though we've come a long way graphically and everything, but it's more because of the gameplay and mechanics of that game. It is still recognised today as the greatest wrestling game ever made because they got everything right in that game from a wrestling stand, from the grappling and everything. And nobody has been able to replicate that. Yeah, graphics look a lot better today, but that's just graphics. That's not the actual, you know, how the wrestling encompasses how they run the ropes and that. That No Mercy got it as close to perfection as you could get.
To me, the reason the later games lost it is the controls got too convoluted. You had to push 37 buttons to do 2 moves. It was like, no, stop that. You know.
Yeah. You know. So I loved the start of how they did the intro. And of course, look, me and you didn't think that they were that the pay-per-view itself was going to be that crash hot. I still think sub matches on the card were still like what we thought they were going to be, but I think I can say it was a little bit better than what we thought it was going to be. Obviously, on the pre-show, you had just the one match, which was a women's match. Blair Davenport going over Kalani Jordan. Wasn't much of a match, realistically. It was more of a squash. Then, of course, we had the match that neither one of us were looking forward to, and I still don't think it really did that much other than 2 big boys beating the crap out of each other. But I was surprised to see Baron Corbin go over him. That was probably the only surprise. I thought Bron was going to come out on top just because he's the younger, and I thought Baron was going to do the job for him. And I personally think it's time for Bron Breakker to leave NXT. I think he's ready for the main roster. He's done everything in NXT. You know, he's been dominant. He's been the champion, twice. You know, I think it's time. A great match between Trick Williams and Dominic, though, bro. And I was so happy. Trick Williams won.
we knew that Dom was probably going to drop the belt. We both said that.
Yeah, exactly. And
the only reason I thought it felt hollow was there was nothing before and after the match. It was just like, let's go to the match, and nobody else from Judgment Day was there, and there was none of that drama, none of that story, I should say, was there. It was just, here's a match, we know we got to do it, so here. And part of that was because they cut the guy he was originally supposed to wrestle, you know.
Oh, bro. Yeah, and while you brought that up, just to touch on, Shawn Michaels, he is pissed. He is pissed at 2 of the firings, because he didn't get told at all. He found out by the dirt sheets himself. He was pissed off about Mustafa Ali because they had plans for him. And by the way, when I was listening to Shawn talk, I think the plan may have been that he was going to beat Dom. I think that was the plan. They were going to push him as the North American champion, just because of how angry Shawn was in this interview I just recently listened to. He was also pissed off about Dana Brooks firing, because he thought that she was doing wonders for all the female talent on NXT and really being a big help. And I actually thought, damn, they're actually using the poor woman, because on the main roster, they barely freaking used her. So she was in that sort of, you know, Natty Neidhart teaching role down there. And again, so I agree with him. And what else I agree with is they need to communicate better. And you'd think that Triple H being your best friend, and considering he's put you in charge of NXT, the least he could have done was give you a heads up. But by the sounds of it, no one gave Shawn a heads up at all.
It may not have been a Triple H call either. Remember, the other people are in charge now.
No, I know.
And so,
I know.
Yeah.
But I guess he's just annoyed because he still thought, look, they obviously knew who they were going to release. The least that they could have done was, hey, Shawn,
right,
like at least in the very least, at least told him about Mustafa Ali. because he was in such a prominent feud and prominent for the title.
Right, because you can tell because of what happened that the writers had almost no time to change anything up.
No.
You know,
No. The only thing that I was surprised about, and we've seen it obviously on NXT before leading into this pay-per-view, me and you both thought, okay, maybe Dragon Lee was going to get another go. I mean, he was in the match. He ended up being the special guest referee.
right.
I didn't see... I'm glad that he did, because I think he's up on the rise, Strickland, but I did not pick that or have that penciled in at all. Even when he got thrown into the Fatal 4-Way match, I thought, okay, he's just thrown in there to make it up to a Fatal 4-Way and make things interesting. I still thought Dragon Lee was going to win the damn thing. Because they signed... The only reason I kept thinking it is because they signed Dragon Lee. They signed him, and AEW was chasing him too, because AEW's got both his brothers signed. And he was a big deal in Mexico, and they made a big deal out of his signing. And apart from a couple of times, all I've witnessed since they've signed Dragon Lee is him lose. And I thought, this is not a real good way to debut. He's still a young talent, but a big name from the independents. Like, I thought they would have been pushing him to the moon. I didn't expect him to come in and get the title day one kind of thing, but I thought, okay, he's had a couple of cracks and they've had him lose. Surely this third or fourth time around, they're going to have him win, you know. So I really don't know what in the heck... By the looks of it now, too, because he's got a match coming up on SmackDown, he might just be automatically getting moved up to the main roster now. And I'm like, good God, it's like, seems a bit of a rush process. You sign him, you put him in NXT, you had him lose more than win in NXT, but now it seems like you're kind of moving him up to the main roster without any reason as to why. You know, I feel like they don't know what they really want to do with him, but at the same time, I think they're trying to rush him. And this is my worry. Just watching how they're handling and what they're doing with him. This is my worry about how they handle and what they do with Jade, because the big difference between the two is Dragon Lee. Look, from a wrestling standpoint, yeah, you could move him up to the main roster. You might have to give him a mouthpiece. But wrestling standpoint, he's not green, so I'd be fine with that. Don't make this mistake here with Jade, because you really want to make sure you do things right with her, you know. Otherwise, she's just going to be in the same boat, and people are going to, like, she'll get caught out on the main roster, and fans are going to, you know, as I said, fans are a lot cluey and more smart these days, and they pick wrestlers all the time, and they will pick her apart because of her greenness, you know. But no, it was good that Trick won.
The match was really good. I just thought it was all it was the match, though. Seriously, that's all that happened.
Look, the only thing I'll say with Trick, and I hope he stays in NXT a bit longer, his wrestling is getting better, but it still needs to catch up to his mic. I think his mic skills are a little bit more advanced than his wrestling skills, and you could see, like, during the match, as good the match was, there was a few times there I was like, when he pulled off a move, it looked like he was a little bit like, he was thinking too much about it, and he seemed a bit unsure.
He was thinking about the next move.
Right,
he was thinking, okay, what's next?
And I'm like, look, you can tell that he's got the talent there, that he will be fluid one day, where you won't sort of pick up on that, and it will look more natural and fluid. But, yeah, he still seems a little bit unsure of himself in the ring. And look, he's not as green as Jade, but he's still on the green side, and I think he just needs, again,
I think having actually, and I know we always give Dom crap, but having him in there with Dom was probably good for him.
Yeah. Like, the styles matched up, I thought, pretty well. And it was a great match. And I'm glad that, as I said, this elevates Trick. He was... You know, we knew over the last, say, month, or maybe a little bit over a month, he was starting to break away from Carmelo and wanted to do his own thing, which I thought was good, because, you know, it was good him being teamed up with Carmelo for a while, but as he started coming along and becoming solo himself, I'm like, no, he needs to break away, otherwise he's just going to be constantly second fiddle. And, you know, it was great to sort of see this little push now, and I think they'll have him have a decent run with the belt as well, and you know.
Just so you know, that belt is up for grabs again already on the pay-per-view. They announced it tonight.
Yeah.
A rematch with Dom. Actually.
Yeah, and I put it this way, because of what happened at the end of that pay-per-view, I have a feeling Carmelo is going to turn on him, and he was eyeing that North American Championship, man, and Trick Williams even went onto social media and said, "Hey, bro, what you looking at?" Pointing it out too. That Mello was staring hard at it, man. Of course, then we had the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match, which I thought was a pretty damn good Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match. Usually these types of matches, one team or a couple of people kind of get a bit lost in it, but I thought this was very balanced. And I was happy to see that the family retained, because they haven't been champs that long. We know the Creed brothers don't really need another run with I think they're almost ready themselves to move up to the main roster. I don't think Los Lotharios is championship material. I think they've got to be built up a bit more yet. And that new team, they're referring to themselves as OTM, with that Lucian Prince and Bronco near, I think they're way too young. Good young studs, and I think Scripps is their manager type guy. I think it's good, but I think they need some time to cook before being champions. But that was a great match. Noam Dar versus Butch. I didn't mind it, but I didn't think it was. I don't think it was. For me, it was at the top of watching those British round rules matches.
I got easily distracted. Let me just be honest. During that match, I was like, it had its moments, but
it did. But no, I think there's been better heritage cut. I thought the matchup between Noam and Nathan Fraser was a lot better, for example.
I think part of it is I'm not a fan of that style of the whole, okay, we're going to do rounds and we're also going to do 3 falls or whatever. And it's like, I just don't, that doesn't keep me engaged.
No.
You know?
No. I agree with you. Like, the British love it because that is actually legitimately their style, obviously.
Yeah.
And they're so used to it over there. A lot of the promotions over there do that particular style. I just don't.
I did like at the end of the first round when he just topped up and smacked the guy.
Man. I'll put it this way. I like Butch, but I wish they'd fucking. I really wish. Excuse me. I wish they would drop that damn name and just have him go back to his original name, because I just don't like the name Butch. I don't know why they even changed his name. Like, there was nothing wrong with his name whatsoever. Maybe one of these days, Pete Dunne, that's what he was known as, and Peter is actually his actual proper first name, but there's nothing wrong with Pete Dunne. I thought that was a good name, it was catching on and people liked him.
What's the last name?
Dunne, D-U-N-N-E.
Oh, D, okay, I thought you were saying Gunn. I'm like, well, I know why they wouldn't use Peter Gunn. They get in trouble for that.
It's funny though. His actual real life last name is England. Peter England is his name, but it's funny.
There you go.
Peter England, and he's English.
yeah.
But no, like Pete Dunne, like he was known as the Bruiserweight, and they still kind of refer to him as the Bruiserweight, but I'm like, Butch, like he's not going to really make it anywhere with being called Butch. Like, honestly, he's not. Whereas Pete Dunne, like, just using a name, like, I could see that. I mean, it's just like Seth Rollins kind of thing, so I could see him becoming like a world champion. But as Butch, here's your world champion, Butch.
Just Butch, and you really have there's no character to base that on.
No.
Pete Dunne gives you something you can work with,
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And then, of course, the 2 last matches, which I think both the matches were the matches of the night. Dragunov defeating Carmelo Hayes for the NXT champion. Was that a phenomenal 5-star match. Those 2 boys left it all out there. And as I've said many, many times, and you agree with this, Jesus, that Dragunov hits hard, bro. Like, you hear it. That's why I love...
Those aren't pulled back slaps.
No, that's why I love, and I know he's looking forward to having another feud in the future when he moves up to the main roster, because he said there's someone on the main roster that's really helped make him, and that guy is formerly known as Walter, is Gunther. Him and Gunther's matches back in NXT UK.
Wow.
Oh my God. Like, Gunther would chop him and you'd hear, and then you'd hear him headbutt Gunther, and then you'd hear him do his forearm shot. Oh man, those two just used to beat the crap
Yeah,
out of
those two don't need to do the foot stomp on the ring thing to hear shit. No.
Those two are so heavy with their hand. They are just so brutal. And as I said, he's already looking forward to having another feud with him in the future. And I'm telling you now, when those two go at it, I don't think me myself, and I've watched wrestling for a long time, even a lot of Japanese stuff. I don't think you could put two guys in that ring that hit each other as hard as those two guys hit each other, man.
Yeah.
Like, Gunther's chops, I don't know how it doesn't cave in someone's chest. I really don't. I mean, wow. I mean, people thought that when Sheamus does his beating of the Bowery, you know, the drums on the chest, that's bad. But no, not compared to, damn, like, I remember one match, Ilya's jumped off the top rope and Gunther just chopped him out of the air. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And like, here, like, there was one that he got, Carmella, I think Carmella ran and he jumped off the ropes and Ilya caught him, man. I'm like, oh!
Yeah. Yeah, and didn't he, that's when he flipped over the other way, didn't he, when he caught him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, ow.
Hey, what's good, Monkey Punch? Welcome in, brother.
Yeah, some of the stuff they did to each other was like, ouch.
Oh, man, like, when he got Carmelo in the corner, man, he's just like, chop, whack, whack. And you just see Carmelo, man, like, oh, my God, stop. Like, I'm like, good God, like, yeah, man, like, he could barely stand at the end, and, like, because Ilya's so intense. Like, even after their match, he's like, he wants to rip his arm off, ripping him up. Yeah, good match, you know. That's that Russian coming out here. But my God, man, that was as brutal a match as I've seen in recent times. And they, as I said, they both put on a show. You had that brute force of Dragunov, who just loves the pain, and you had the high-flying antics of Carmelo. They just meshed and you know, so well together.
Yep.
Again, that was one of the matches of the night. And then, of course, we had the main event, which I thought was another great match, the Extreme Rules match between Becky and Tiffany. And I think this really put Tiffany on the map now, having this second round of match with Becky. You know, even in a losing effort, she put on a hell of the show. Considering that, you know, we've talked about her before, like, a lot of talent there for sure. Probably just needs to work a little bit more on her mic skills and delivering a promo, but apart from that, she is well on her way. And I think this 2 matches with Becky has really benefited her.
Yeah. Was Becky the one that they showed, quote, shopping for the stuff for the match?
Yeah.
which was BS, by the way. It's not like the WWE doesn't provide that stuff, okay?
Did you see her?
It's not like they sent her to a Costco in Sacramento to go get shit.
Did you see her posting after the match her nice flesh wound?
No, I did not. Did she get a flesh wound?
Yeah, it looked nasty too. I think it may have been, if it wasn't from one of the kendo stick shots, I think it may have been from when she kind of fell a little bit awkwardly on the particular arm. And man, wow, that match that was one of the most brutal women's matches I've seen in a little while. They really gave it to each other. They put on, again, that was probably for the women, a 4-5 star match in itself. So I think that those 2 last matches really helped this pay-per-view, because You know, apart from probably the Trick and Dominic match, the other matches were sort of either or, as I said, the tag match did its job too, but the other matches on the card were a bit...
And like I said, my only issue with the Trick and Dom match, and it kind of weakened the beginning of the pay-per-view, was there was no story to drive it.
No, well, they had to, as we know, they kind of had to rush and put something together.
Well, just the fact that they also... It would have helped if they would have at least had Senior Money in the Bank there with them, you know.
Right.
To show that that's part of the story. Even if he didn't get involved for whatever reason, there's still always... Dom was... See, this shows what we both talked about. Dom is not ready to be by himself.
No.
As a wrestler, maybe, but not as anything outside the ring. He needs...
No.
To drive that story, he needs somebody else out there with him.
Yes. Yeah, indeed. You know, and so that was just a rush put together match, and it was unfortunate because, as I said, obviously they had plans in place and a story out between him and Mustafa, and they had to scramble. That's probably another thing, another reason why Sean was kind of annoyed, was that he had to scramble.
No, well, actually, I was going to speak to that. You know, there's a chance that even though him and Triple H are friends, there may have been an NDA involved where the people in B said, nobody can know about this because we need to try to control the rumor mill. You know, we need to try to control the narrative. So in that, I can understand. But yeah, somebody should have at least told Sean, hey, keep your mouth shut, but here's what's going to be happening, you know.
Yeah. You know.
But then he would have still been pissed because he couldn't have told the writer's room. You know,
No, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, and so it was a bit of... He got put into a conundrum, really, because that was all done so late, last minute. You know, I can imagine the stress of that, running around last minute like, oh, crap.
They had, 10 days to basically come up with a reason to, you know... And I honestly do believe that Dom had no idea who he was wrestling until, like, last minute.
No. You know? No. That's why I thought, and you could probably understand my thought process, that's why I thought, because he kind of had that second feud sort of running alongside the Mustafa one with Dragon Lee, I thought it was just going to be Dragon Lee. And at least then, if it was, you wouldn't have had to rush around so much. But they obviously thought, look, we've had him go in a couple of shots and had Dom go over him a few times. We're going to have to get someone new in here, and that's why they did the four-way. You know, so...
And though I do like the fact that, you know, and this I do think was him just doing a storyline, was Dom thinking he was going to stay home for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, he thought he had a night off.
I think he didn't know he was going to be wrestling, but he played that part well. I get to stay home, you know. No, you don't. What? What the hell? Yeah, so, yeah.
No, exactly. I think he thought he had a night off.
And we had a pay-per-view with no bloodline information.
Nope.
I know with NXT, but still, they've been crossing the streams a lot lately. So.
Exactly.
And did you like my poster?
Yes.
I reposted it today.
You know what you should have done too, which would have made it. I think it was still funny, but it would have made it put it on a milk carton.
I thought that was my original idea, but I couldn't get it to look right, so I went with the flyer. I honestly wish I knew somebody who was going to a WWE event, because I would tell them, hey, look, I will pay for it. Print out like a bunch of these things and hand them out. You know?
Yeah. Where is he? Missing in action.
By the way, anybody watching wondering what I'm talking about, if you go to my Twitter account, or if you go to, you can see I've made a "Have you seen me" poster for Roman Reigns, and with all very correct information. By the way, it's not made up. It's not.
Yes. No,
it looks like a legitimate poster. It looks like a legitimate.
It was funny, man. It was so funny. No, it was good. But you're not wrong though. Where's he been? Although I found it funny. on SmackDown. Jimmy did a Roman while Paul was talking. He just put out his hand, pass me the microphone. I was like, oh, that's so good. That's so good.
I will tell you tonight that tonight Jimmy came out and said, Jay came out and said, yeah, apparently there is a new tribal chief, and she's got bigger balls than Roman ever did. Talking about Rhea Ripley.
You know who was it about her, or was he talking about their cousin who just returned, Nia?
No, he was talking to Rhea at the time.
Ah, okay, yeah.
And
Oh, well, at least she's back.
Called her. Yeah, she's back tonight.
Thank God. My good God. Dom was a bit lost without his mommy.
Mommy's not happy right now, so.
No, I don't think she would be, because, like, they had all the, like, well, not all of them, but they all had titles, and now, because Dom lost his, that broke that up then.
Yeah.
Of course, then we had another pay-per-view this weekend, which we said last week was going to be the better pay-per-view, and by God, from top to bottom, it was. They had 4 matches on the pre-show. Then they had 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then they had 10 on the main card, so 14
Holy
matches.
Shit.
Yeah, right. So on the pre-show,
wasn't that like their entire roster? I mean,
basically
seriously.
everybody on their roster had match. Yeah. So I'll quickly just run through the pre-show. So you had Athena, Billy Starks, Keith Lee, and Satoshi Kojima. They defeated Shane Taylor Promotions, which was Lee Moriarty, Shane Taylor, Diamante, and Mercedes Martinez in an 8-person mixed tag match. Claudio Castagnoli defeated Josh Barnett. Yes, that name is right for the UFC fans. Josh Barnett had a wrestling match, lost out to Claudio. It was actually a pretty decent, sort of technical, hard-hitting match too. Luchasaurus decimated Nick Wayne.
There's the guy who I can't stand. Yeah.
And
good old Luchasaurus, yeah.
Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed retained their trios championships, defeating TMDK, which was Shane Hayes, Mike Nichols, and Bad Dude Tito.
They did a championship match on the pre-show.
Yeah.
On the wow.
the trio, well, the AEW trios championships anyway. And then, of course, we had the first match on the main card, which was an interesting one, considering his tag partner wasn't there. He had to do it all himself. MJF actually defeated The Righteous by himself, retaining the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship. Man, that was a funny match, though. That was a funny match to start the pay-per-view. Like, him playing to the crowd, doing the Hulk Hogan thing, like, I'm gonna body slam this big dude, and he did. and then he... Then he got the other one, the little guy. He threw the big guy, so sort of face first into the corner. So he's facing the corner, right? And he got the little guy, and he told the little guy, "I'm going to put your head up his ass," and he did.
Wow.
So the little guy's head ended up between the big guy's legs, so it looked like it literally from behind looked like his head was up his ass. So MJF was really playing to the crowd. He also came out because they were in Seattle wearing old Seattle Supersonics colours as well. Getting that cheap pop, Mick Foley cheap pop. But no, it was a great way to start the pay-per-view. Followed by the next match, man, did it live up to what I thought it was going to be too. And they only got given 11 minutes, but Eddie Kingston retained both his titles against Shibata. Who, as we know, is the Ring of Honor television champion. Those two put on a great strong style match. It was just full-blown Japanese strong style match. They were chopping the crap out of each other. It was very technical. It was hard-hitting. It was everything you'd expect from a New Japan style match. And those two got so great respect for each other. But as I said, like last time, I'm so glad that they've given Eddie Kingston his props. And they had him beat Claudio. You know, he can finally call himself a world champion now. Because the man might not look it, but he is a tremendous talent. Like, on that microphone, in that ring. Like, he's really at the top of his game right now. So I'm glad to see him get that run. You know, as I said, he doesn't look like a typical world champion material just to look at him. But He's funny, man, he's
And let me just tell you, I love it whenever Claudio loses because Darcy the mail girl from the last drive-in, she always puts "fuck Claudio" on her tits and she shows them off on Twitter every time he loses. So
yeah.
And she's got a nice set of tits. Let me just tell you, she's got a nice set of boobs, and she's not afraid to show them. Okay.
Then of course we had the AEW TBS Championship was up for grabs. Statlander retained in a hell of a match. Look, I've got to give props to young Julia Hart. She was in the background when she first came in. She was teamed with Brian Pillman and his partner as their cheerleader, and she was basically, that's how she was dressed, as a high school cheerleader. Wow, this whole heel turn, going to the dark side and having her team up with Brody King and Malachi and that has done her wonders. This girl I didn't think much of when I very first seen her, and she has come along leaps and bounds. She has got so much more confidence now. Her wrestling ability has come a long way. She's going to be a women's, whether it's the TBS or the AEW women's, she's going to be a women's champion at some point. She has worked her tail off, and I think she's been put with the right people to help her get there. You know, Malachi's got a lot of experience, so has Brody King, and it's been beneficial to her. And she had a hell of a match with Statlander. Like, their match was probably one of the best women's matches, easily top 5 women's matches in AEW this year. That's how good it was. So when you do get a chance to run it back, Paul, do check that match out because it was actually really good. Then, of course, we had the 4-way tag team match for a future AEW Tag Team Championship. This match was not what I expected. It seemed very rushed. This is not like this was probably the worst match on the card, to be quite fair, and not AEW, like not how I expect AEW matches to go. But this one felt very, very rushed. Like blink and you miss it. I'm not kidding you. Blink and you miss it. I was expecting a tenfold better match, especially just purely with the Young Bucks, the Lucha Brothers, and the Guns in this match. I thought the spots in this match was going to be off the chain. Nah. You had a few spots, yeah, but it just felt rushed. The Young Bucks ended up winning again, which I was I like the Young Bucks, but I'm like, look, they don't need to freaking be in the championship. They don't need the championships again. Like, what are we doing here with honestly, I would have preferred to see the Guns win. I would have liked to see the Guns win. They're the young upcoming tag team. They're a part of Bullet Club Gold. I know they've had a run with the tag team chip, but it wasn't a long run. I think they're in a better position now, and they've come along even further with their ability on the microphone in the ring. A part of a prominent, a part of a prominent group. This was probably the opportunity to do that, and I think AEW did drop the ball in this match. This is where I was saying, and PK pointed it out, that the Young Bucks, I think, do need to be dropped as EVPs. Because obviously they've written themselves to win. I'm just like, you boys have been multiple time tag team. Like, your legacy is set. Your legacy is set. I'm not taking anything away from it. As I said, I do love them. They are one of my favourite tag teams. You know, a lot of people view them as a new version of the Hardy Brothers. You know, that was probably the only match on this whole card I was disappointed in, because it just didn't live up to how I thought it was going to play out. The next match did. So I was feeling down after that match. Then we had Swerve Strickland and Hangman Page. Damn. These two took it, man. And I've been saying for the longest time, Swerve Strickland is one heck of a rising talent. Like, this man has more talent in his pinky finger than a lot of the other guys. And he got over. I was happy to see, because I thought there's been a few times since AEW hired him, I didn't like that they had him losing so much too. They gave him a big win. He was in his hometown, which you don't usually see too often. Persons in their hometown, they generally have them lose. But No, he had a big win, and I think this was a big win against Hangman. I think now they're really pushing him up the upward trajectory. He's, in my opinion, especially now that MJF's kind of that tweener baby face now, Swerve, I think, is actually going to overtake Ricky Starks as the best and number one heel in AEW. The guy's just a genius, man. He's just a creative genius. I think he's got that creative gene like a Bray Wyatt. Like, he really does. He knows how he wants his character handled, where he wants it to go and kind of thing. But these two put on a really, really great 20-minute match, man. They hit each other with everything bar the kitchen sink. It was fantastic. Then, of course, you had Ricky Starks and Wheeler Yuta. Shorter match, but still did its job. These two put on a great show. Ricky went over the top, of course, because obviously they're still pushing him forward. Basically, I'd say Swerve's 1A, Ricky Starks 1B as your top two heels in the company. The next match, I thought, in my opinion, stole the show until the end of it. I didn't like the finish. Danielson against Zack Sabre Jr. Now, they promoted the crap out of this match as the two best technical wrestlers in the world. And for the most part, this match was a technical feast. Watching Brett versus Owen Hart back in the day. That's how good this match was. Then they had the match end via a strike.
Still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I thought that the match was superb until the finish. As I said, you got two of the greatest technical wrestlers in the world today, and you have the match end on a strike. So Danielson won, but he won with the Bushido knee. You know his Bushido knee, the running knee he does?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's how it ended. Now, I think, and even the commentators, I think it was Nigel McGuinness. Hey, this match was a really great match, and you end it like that. They built this up as a technical match. It should have ended with whoever you're going to have go out on top, making the other one submit. That's how it should have ended. And you don't see it too often with AEW, but they messed up the finish of that. Of probably one of, or arguably the best match on the card.
When I can finally watch that, I'm going to have to watch for that, because I'm going to have to see if maybe there was a region they had to change up. You know?
Yeah, no, he hit him right at the end with two. He hit him with two Bushido knees, and I was like, okay, you've knocked him stupid, and that's all well and good. If this was if you had built this match up differently, it would have been fine. But because they literally built it up as who is the best technical wrestler, who is the best right now, who can make who tap out, who can twist who up into a press, like that's the way they built it. And so I was disappointed with the ending, but the match itself up until the ending was freaking bonkers. Like, these two guys applied nearly every damn hold imaginable. Phenomenal match. Then, of course, we had the Don Callis family. So it was Takeshita, Will Ospreay, and Sammy Guevara taking on the Golden Elite of Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi and Chris Jericho. A beautiful six-man tag match. You had a lot of talent in this ring, and they all had their own time to shine in this. Obviously, the Callis family, to continue extending the story, came out on top with Sammy pinning Jericho, obviously due to Don Callis' interference. So this continues the story going with Jericho and Kenny and Callis' group. But it was probably one of the better six-man tags I've seen in a while. And then, of course, that was followed up with the AEW World Tag Team Championships on the line, where FTR defeated Aussie Open. Again, another great match. I've got to give it to the big boy on Aussie Open's team. He did something to his wrist He landed quite awkwardly on a move on his wrist, and I don't know if it's broke or if it's fractured, but he actually kind of used the side of his wrist to help do their finishing move because he couldn't grab them how he usually would. And I thought, this man is one tough SOB. Like, you could tell that he was grimacing in pain, and he still continued on for a good 5 to 10 minutes after he'd done his wrist in. And again, it was a great tag match. These two, the first time around, put on a phenomenal tag team match. And I think AEW's probably got arguably the best tag division in wrestling right now. So it was a fantastic match. And then the main event of the evening, which I think ended up, again, I would have said Danielson and Sabre Jr. stole the show, but because of the finish, I put them second behind the main event. Christian Cage did end up defeating Darby Allin in the 2 out of 3 falls match. It was brutal. Oh my God, was it brutal. You're going to see what I'm talking about, Paul. He picks Darby up twice. It was the second time he did it. Drops him on the steel steps. The second time, I don't know how Darby didn't break his arm.
Oh.
His whole body weight and everything landed so awkwardly on the one arm. Man, I'm sitting there going, oh my God. They were stretchering him out. Christian said, no, that's not happening. Gets on the turnbuckle, jumps off, and lands on the stretcher. I'm like, oh. These two brutal, like Christian lifts up the whole padding of the ring so all the boards were exposed, and they land on the boards, bro. Like, he did these finishes.
Oh.
Yeah, on the hard boards. Like, I got to give Darby Allin, man.
So this sounds like, like Mick Foley flashback.
Yes, it was. Look, Terry Funk would have been proud of this damn match. Both him and Mick Foley, man. It was brutal. It was probably the best hardcore match that anybody's ever seen in quite some time. Like, these two pulled out all the stuff. And Darby Allin, like, he said it best himself in many interviews. He has no problem being AEW's guinea pig. And boy, was he a guinea pig. I don't know how Christian didn't break the poor boy in half. Because there's not a lot of Darby Allin. Anybody who's seen Darby Allin, he's a very skinny, small guy. Like, Christian was having his way with him. Like, you would have thought Christian was like Big Show. Like, he was brutalizing. Right. Darby was getting thrown around like a damn rag doll. It was brutal. Darby ended up getting the first pin, and then Christian obviously got the last two. But it was a hellacious match. And then we had, of course, Darby's friend turn on him. The young Nick Wayne is now joined up with Christian. He turns on him during the match. And they were going to mess him up. At the end, they're going to concerto him. And Sting comes down. Sting starts beating the crap out of him until Luchasaurus then comes down, evens the sides. And then we had the surprise and just the look on Christian's face. Everybody's probably seen it all over Twitter because the video's been posted everywhere. The man formerly known as Edge, Adam Copeland, made his All Elite debut with the same theme music he's had this whole time. I thought it was funny too because I did my research on it. There was many fans initially yesterday screaming at the top of their lungs and posted, WWE's going to sue Tony. WWE, they can't use that theme song. He can't use. Well, I'm sorry to say, but WWE didn't have the rights to that theme song. And Adam, being very, very close friends with Mark Tremonti, who is the lead guitarist of Alter Bridge, got his blessing to use that. Because Mark Tremonti said that song pretty much encompasses Adam. It's a very big part of his character. Adam, many times, because he's right into his metal music and rock music, he's very musical influenced. And he said it would have been very weird coming out to anything else other than that song. The words, the lyrics of that song completely, word for word encompass him and his life and things that he's been through and that. So I was glad that he got to keep that because that's just him. But a few points on that, right? So a few things I'll just go through. Look, a few things that I didn't, before we get a bit touch on Adam debuting. Something I didn't like about this pay-per-view, and it's usually, I don't usually say that I don't like this, but AEW's head-scratching card placement for this. So, WrestleDream, for me, after watching it, was about two things. Tribute to, obviously, the legendary Antonio Inoki, and there was some matches on the card that did, was a tribute to him. And, obviously it was the first time the company had taken a pay-per-view to Seattle in their 4-year existence too. But after the 4 matches on the pre-show, how the main event of the show proper, we knew that Darby and that were probably going to end up going last. Darby deserved the main event, being the hometown boy as well. The smart decision would have been to kick things off with a hot match between one of the aforementioned, Washington products. Because you had a few Washington products there. You had Darby, Strickland, and Danielson. Danielson's also from Seattle as well. Instead, the decision makers opted to slot a predictable 2-on-1 handicap match between MJF and the Righteous at the top of the card, which is always one of the most important matches on any show, as it kind of sets the tone for the night. And obviously, as we know, with MJF's partner, the Brochacho, Adam Cole, sidelined, he's forced to go it alone. So, despite that, the result of the bout was, never in any doubt, with MJF retaining, especially in this case anyway. I didn't really sort of ever feel that the Righteous was going to win the belts. And the crowd were into it to a certain extent, purely because MJF was playing to them. But the presentation, or lack thereof, especially for the Righteous on AEW's programming, likely made it hard for any fan to truly invest in the action.
Right.
Personally, I think they would have been better served placing the hot singles feud of Strickland and Hangman, or even Danielson and Zack Sabre to open the show. With any pay-per-view, doesn't matter over WWE, Impact, New Japan, that first match sets the tone. It really does set the tone. So you want to get people going early, right? Generally, you find a match sort of in the middle of the card to sort of bring the excitement down for the crowd so they can get ready for the next half of the card, and give them that break. Something I loved though was, as I said, they gave plenty of time to Adam Page and Swerve Strickland to really shine. I thought they were giving sufficient time, and considering both men are at the top of the mid card right now, the whole angle had the potential to catapult either man right into world title storyline. But given Hangman's already been there, done that. Again, like I mentioned earlier, having Strickland go over was huge. And like I've continued to say, he's someone with all the talent in the world, and he makes the most of his opportunities that he's been handed. But this was yet another example of him delivering. When he's handed the ball, he delivers, and I really hope that they keep pushing him now into the main event scene, because he's got main eventer written all over him. Again, something I didn't like, I just touched on earlier, that the technical dream match ends with a strike. After such a great technical match, I just didn't feel that was the right way to end it. Does it seem like they may have cut this match off at the knees a little? Yeah. And, if the plan really is for...
Well, that's why I'm wondering if there was a reason for it, because it does feel awkward.
Yeah, I mean, if the plan really is for these two to go again, obviously that's fantastic. Plans change, anything can change, but you're preventing a dream match you have right in front of you from receiving the heights it could potentially reach, because you want to save some stuff for a sequel, possibly. Seems a bit risky at best. maybe irresponsible at worst. It was just, yeah. I think you could have still ended this with a submission, and you had Danielson go. Well, they still could have had a sequel. Zack Sabre, being the younger guy, could have been pissed off, annoyed. He didn't shake his hand at the end. So the way they kind of did that after the match, like, hey, he's going to be pissed off. He's down. He doesn't like that he lost. He's going to come back. They could have had a second match where he won, and then you could have had a rubber match, like. And people would have been invested in it because these two guys are so popular and so good at what they do. As I said, they're technical beasts. They're two of the best technical wrestlers, if not the two best technical wrestlers in the world. Like, you could have had them going 2-3 times. So it was good. And the only other thing I was a bit disappointed in was Tony Khan, before this pay-per-view, began hyping up the idea that this event would mark the end of an era, obviously, which led to a lot of ideas swirling around the wrestling space, from Tony potentially buying New Japan to Ring of Honor and AEW titles being unified and everything in between. But ultimately, it was just Khan's way of marketing the impending debut of Edge. While it was, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
While it was fantastic to see the Rated R Superstar officially land there, and I think for all purposes that most of us with half a brain knew that that's where he was going to go, because him and WWE were far apart. He wanted to go back to wrestling a full-time schedule, which I'm going to touch on in a second, and WWE were playing it safe with him. That's why Bryan Danielson left, because he was sick of them playing it safe, considering he got the all clear and everything. He wanted to return to a more full-time schedule, or at least wrestle more often than what WWE is willing to use him. And WWE didn't end up re-signing him, so he was free to go in. So it definitely, all signs were pointing. I think even before his last match in WWE with Sheamus, he was going to go to AEW. The rumours were swirling. He's got friends over there. Obviously, his best friend, godfather to his kids, Christian's there. So the fact all of Khan's hype...
I was going to say, the fact that Edge and Christian are back together means we can have some fun now.
Yeah, but the fact all of Khan's hype leading in was so that they could sell some shirts relating to Adam was quite a cheap trick in his book, and something that left a lot of people disappointed. They wasted no time showing off the new shirt, which is for what they're referring to as the Rated R era. Obviously, a notable nod to Copeland's iconic nickname. But considering Khan's track record for major announcements, having been things such as, the Owen Hart Memorial Trophy, or the fact he was purchasing Ring of Honor, he had raised expectation level amongst fans. The rumour mill had been swirling about the idea of Copeland arriving at this event, especially once it became clear Christian would be part of the main event match. So therefore, Khan's comments weren't necessarily needed, as he created a rod for his own back with expectation levels. And look, while Copeland, in my opinion, and I said this yesterday, is a definite obvious shot in the arm for AEW, as a company that was due star power he commands, building a new era though around a wrestler who is 49 years of age will likely be working a more it won't be around for, they might get 2 or 3 years out of him. Might not be as great an idea marketing wise as what Tony may have thought. While there could be more to come from the teasers that he was dropping down the line, perhaps, maybe even at AEW's Dynamite this week, the tease that he did do, Khan, was for this pay-per-view, and ultimately wasn't really truly delivered on. It's just disappointing. Like, I don't think there was a need for him to say, "Oh, this is going to be a new era," what have you. I really didn't. I think he kind of overhyped that. He could have just said, something as simple as, us on pay-per-view, expect some surprises, instead
Right.
of turning around saying, this is a new era. I mean, it's not a new era. You've just had a guy that's a legend, that is a big name, that even at his age can still go in the ring, does put butts in seats. Yes, is an injection in the arm, considering you've just had to fire Punk. I think he's a hell of a signing, but new era, this is not. This is still the same AEW. You've just got a new guy coming in. That's all it was. So I just wish Tony would be careful with the way he words things sometimes, because he does kind of end up like this time around. He did. He shot himself in the foot here. But
well, maybe not, because I would say give him a few weeks and let's see what this new era is going to look like. Let's see what he's going to do with Edge. Let's see.
Well, look. Here's a couple of things I want to touch on now. At the media scrum, both Tony and Adam confirmed he is coming back in a full-time schedule. Now, a lot of people may be a bit worried about that, considering that he almost had lost his life, not just his career over, almost lost his life in a WWE ring. Hence why he had to retire, right? He's been given the complete all clear, like Bryan Danielson, but I've seen many people very, very worried that you've got this guy who had a serious neck injury, and he isn't getting any younger. He's almost 50, and he's coming back to a full-time schedule. I say, hey, he wants to do it. If he feels good enough, he knows his own body, let him do it. Because this man, even at 49, still wrestles like a 20-year-old. This guy can
I was going to say the other thing he could be bringing to it maybe is writing or storytelling. I don't know how he is in the back.
Okay, well, that's what I'm about to touch on. So he has come out and said that he wants to replace CM Punk in what Punk was doing backstage. So the whole roster welcomed him with open arms. Kenny Omega and him had a meeting for the very first time. They never met each other in their life. He's made a very, very big impression, considering he's only just turned up. And he opened up about taking on CM Punk's role backstage, what Punk was doing backstage in the promotion. And this was reported by Fightful Select. So it's been reported on Backstage Reactions. That report states that Copeland is keen to help in any way he can, reportedly telling an unnamed star that he will assist the AW roster behind the scenes and fill the gap left by Punk, who also aided stars backstage. WWE reportedly knew that Copeland, who went by Edge in their company, would not return to the promotion as far back as the summer. Copeland's contract with WWE expired at the end of September, with his last match coming against Sheamus on the August 18th edition of SmackDown. Report also claims that WWE and Copeland maintain friendly relations, and the promotion would welcome him back if the opportunity ever arose. The report stated that AEW and WWE stars were certain that Copeland would sign for AEW for quite some months, even before his final match in WWE. As I touched on earlier, many fans were surprised that AEW used Copeland's iconic Metallicus theme song, but it was also reported that WWE never, ever owned the rights to the song. Never, ever. Edge got the rights to the song from his friend that's in the band. So AEW also used the Rated R Superstar moniker in his debut at WrestleDream, which WWE also didn't reportedly renew the trademark for, as they knew that Copeland would be leaving the company. And it's
almost like a kinder, gentler WWE, if you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, if this was still Vince in charge, he would have made sure to lock that crap down. And he would have paid the money to lock the theme song down and said, no, you're going over there, you need to find a new theme song. And AEW president also announced at the post WrestleDream scrum that Copeland will feature twice this upcoming week. He will be on Dynamite and on Collision. He also revealed that he will have his first match on October 10th edition of Dynamite, which I think is next week, against Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus is going to be his first AEW match.
Let's say what it's going to be. Luchasaurus is going to be his first victim. Okay.
Yes. But look, Adam was like Bryan Danielson was doing some writing backstage. He's been in the business since the Attitude Era. So he's been through many, many eras of WWE. And he's been around Vince and around writers and everything. He said at the media scrum, he's an open book to all the wrestlers, all the young talent. They want to come and scratch his bane. He's had 30 years of experience. You know, they can call him, they can text him, they can come up to him backstage, they see him. Look, he's a more pleasant person than CM Punk to deal with. I think...
I was going to mention that. I saw on Twitter today somebody who I think is a CM Punk fan said they're just asking for another CM Punk situation.
Nope.
And I don't see that with Edge.
No.
I don't...
He is a complete opposite person. They're two completely different people. Edge has never, ever... There's never been any dirt sheet reports on him, ever. He's always been very friendly, always positive things said about him, never in trouble, right? In his, 25, 30 odd year career in WWE, never any drama, willing to put people over. He had a lot of creative control too on his character, just like he earned that with the years built up, just like Taker and that. So not like power like Tony gave to Punk kind of power, but creative power on how he wanted his character presented and such. And I think he's earned that right. And look, if Tony wants to give him that little bit of power of say, hey, can you help run Collision? You're not going to have a power hungry guy. Like, he's another one like Kenny Omega. He wants to help. He like he mentioned at the media scrum. He only had a quick look over the roster. He hasn't had a full look at it yet, but even in the quick look, he picked out 15 names that he wants to. He goes, I've never been in the ring with Samoa Joe. I've never been in the ring with John Moxley. Even though they were both in WWE together when he was in there as Dean Ambrose, never been in the ring. Never been in the ring with Kenny, right? There is a lot of matchups there. He's also looking at the younger talent because he mentioned Nick Wayne, he mentioned Darby Allin, he mentioned MJF. There's more for him to achieve and to finish his legacy in AEW than there was for him to do in WWE. He had done absolutely everything you could do in WWE. He had won every title imaginable that you could possibly win in that, right? From Kings of the Ring to the World Championship, both World Championships, to Intercontinental, US, you name it, tag team. He'd been in pretty much every match type you could imagine. Now he can do something new. He wants to do something new. He wants to do something he's never done before. Kenny Omega even touched on it in the media scrum. Yeah. They had conversations.
And if he kind of moves himself to the back room, he gives himself something to do beyond his ability to wrestle because he is almost 50 years old.
Yes.
So, like you said, they're only going to get a few more years out of him in the ring.
Right.
But he can extend that beyond the ring if he can get into the back room stuff.
And the rubbish that I've seen from we always touch on we and you know this too, Paul, because you're a part of both communities, so you know what I'm about to say. They're one and the same. The gaming community and the wrestling community are freaking toxic as crap, right? Because whilst I did see a bunch praising him, hey, this is good, WWE wasn't wanting to do anything much with him, and they just wanted to kind of keep him as a special attraction. He still believes he's got a lot left to give, and he wants to go out on his terms. He wasn't going to get that in WWE. And I've seen a lot of shit, excuse the language, but Carlo shared it, one post where a woman was going off that's a fan of his, where there was people saying, oh, this is going to tarnish his legacy, oh, this is going to be bad for what? How? Why? When he was bored, again, excuse the language, he was bored shitless. He was bored shit. He even said himself, it got to that point that he believed that they needed to go their separate ways, him and WWE.
Yep.
Because
somebody posted the other, one of the wrestlers posted, you saw it, that, hey, behind the scenes, we all get along, and the only ones making up the shit are the fans.
Right.
And like you said, it's just like the gaming thing.
I'm just like, because I'm touching on this, I'm just going to read this, right? So this is from Wrestling Inc. Shout out to them. And the headline reads: Why Adam Copeland belongs in AEW and has every right to move on from Edge and WWE. So, as we know, it might not have been the best kept secret ever, but Adam Copeland, formerly Edge, in WWE, made his debut yesterday for AEW, whether fans like it or not. Now, this opinion piece goes out to those of the fan base that firmly are in the not category, because Adam Copeland belongs in AEW for one simple reason: that's where he chooses to be. So, as WrestleLink's writers continue on here, they say, before we flesh out the rationale behind this argument, though, a bit of housekeeping. The folks at Wrestling Inc. are painfully aware of the vocal contingent among its readership and amongst the wrestling fan base that insists the site is pro-AEW and or owned by the company's president, Tony Khan. For the record, it's not. Static Media acquired this site in May 2022 and operates it independent of any affiliation with AEW, WWE, PDQ, ROH, New Japan, etc., etc., etc. The staff is not pro-AEW or anti-AEW, and the same goes for WWE. We are just a pro wrestling site, probably for the same reason all of our readers like wrestling. It's cool, ridiculous, and just plain fun. So, with that out of the way, they went on to say, so this missive is not an argument for AEW or against WWE, it's an argument for Adam Copeland, the man who elected to see how green the grass is elsewhere because that's his choice to make. He is his own man and enjoys the exclusive right to decide where he wants to work and play, not anybody else. As it says at the top of his theme song, you think you know him. So, why do we, as the people behind an independent media outlet, support his decision to move on from one wrestling company to join another? Why wouldn't we? Copeland being passionate about his next venture is good for wrestling, and he's earned the right to retire on his own terms. Adam Edge Copeland has given us decades of entertainment. He sacrificed his blood, his sweat, and his well-being in WWE. Heck, he predates WWE even being WWE, having debuted with the company still shared the same initials as the World Wildlife Fund. He's arguably one of the best, if not the outright best wrestlers of his generation. But what about WWE? Doesn't he owe the company? We're not sure we're qualified to say yes or no to that one, but the man himself certainly thinks so. As they reported earlier, Copeland shared his gratitude for WWE on X, formerly Twitter, in explaining his decision to go elsewhere. He wrote a 4-page piece on X for those that want to go to his Twitter page. He said, I love WWE and appreciate everything the company has done for me. Always have, always will. They put me on the map, gave me amazing opportunities, and through hard work on both ends, I've been supplied with a wonderful life. Hell, WWE even helped me meet the woman of my dreams I'd start my family with. Sometimes relationships just grow apart, and I feel that WWE and I have just outgrown each other. I wanted to do more. They didn't have much more for me to do, simple as that, and that's okay. I'll still be watching and I'll still be supporting all my friends there. Also, given the erstwhile career-ending injury he suffered in service to WWE, we're pretty sure he's earned every cent he's ever been paid, and it can simply be chalked up to the mutual benefit. What's more, he gave WWE the first option to sign him after he recovered from the career-threatening setback, rejecting Tony Khan's offer to bring him to AEW in the process, because this time, I think this was the second time Tony had tried to reach out to him. The first time he knocked him back. He felt he owed another run before he even considered moving elsewhere. Copeland fulfilled that obligation, as we are all well aware, and he's now a member of a company that shares his goals. He wants to give back. If Adam has been consistent about one thing, it's his desire to have as many dream matches as possible before he completely hangs his boots up for good. Upon retiring to WWE in 2023, the former Edge listed his dream opponents and proceeded to face many of them, including Roman Reigns and AJ Styles. He returned to help the current gen of WWE talent and give fans and himself matches they never thought he'd get to see. That mentality still drives him. By joining AEW, Copeland gets to tick off his remaining career goals by facing a number of performers he's yet to tangle with while mixing it up again with some of his friends and foes from yesteryear. He's given Tony Khan a list of names that he wants to face. As I mentioned earlier, that's about 15 names already. And his requests will be obliged, as the AEW president is all about booking the dream bouts. This makes him an ideal fit for AEW, and the fact he's feeling reinvigorated and passionate means that he's going to produce some great work. Copeland is in the phase of his career where he wants to give back to the business. AEW is still a very young company, all things considered, and his contributions both on screen and behind the scenes will be good for the business, not to mention the fact that competition drives innovation. How can anyone be mad at someone who wants to see the entire industry succeed while he still has the opportunity to do his part? The fact he's still ambitious after all these years is a testament to Adam Copeland's love of professional wrestling, and it's going to be a very sad day when he does eventually retire. I completely agree with this piece. I completely agree with what he actually put out there into the world on X, formerly known as Twitter. This man has given his blood, sweat and tears for damn 30 years. Probably more if you want to include, his work prior to even joining WWF, right? They didn't want to do anything with him. They didn't seem eager to re-sign him. He believes he's still got a lot left. He was annoyed a little bit with them. I know he said this in a prior interview in the last, I think, 18 months, that he didn't really like being just used very sparingly. He said, look, I'm willing to go on the road each week. They just had nothing for him. So he went elsewhere because he wants to be able to finish his career on his terms. What's wrong with that? How any of these idiotic fans think that this is tough. He's going to have, because as I said, yes, he might be in the twilight of his career, but he's still very, very, very much, and surprisingly after the injury he had, very much at the top of his game. Just like Bryan Danielson is, even after his injury, is still at the top of his game. They both can still get in there and put on 5-star matches easily. Easily. They could do it in their sleep, right? This guy might be 49, as I said, but he still wrestles like a damn 20-year-old, or at least early 30. He is going to put on some really, really great matchups. I was, chomping at the bit just thinking about the matchups I can imagine. Him against MJF, him against Kenny Omega will be just absolutely off the chart. Him against Mox. Him against Sammy Guevara, him against Darby Allin at some point. Him and Christian, I don't really.
They could put the tag team back together.
They could, but I don't think they've really even had. I think they've versed each other a couple of times, but they didn't really have a proper blown feud. Now he's actually going to have a proper blown feud with a guy, as I said, that's his best friend. They're like brothers. They know each other back to front. They're going to put on a hell of a match or a couple of matches in this feud because the chemistry is going to be off the charts. But like he said at the media scrum, he's really reinvigorated because this is all... He hasn't had this feeling since he first broke into the business, since he first broke into WWE, right? It's just all been business as usual. Now he kind of feels like that little kid again, that excitement, that passion. It's all there, fire and burning because... New opponents, new scenery. Like he said, I'm up for new match types that I've never been in before. Put me in that situation. Right. This is great. The ambition, the fire is still burning. This is good. And I don't know
how the other thing he brings here that we both think that AEW needs is he brings the ability to tell a story.
Yeah, he does.
Which they've been sorely lacking. So
Yes. Right, as I said, an absolute wealth of knowledge. That was the other thing I seen. He should never have left WWE. He owes it to WWE. WWE made him. Look, he admits WWE made him, but what are you going to do? These fans have got to put themselves in his situation. He still wants to wrestle. He still thinks he's got a lot to give. And this company that you think that he owes everything to didn't show any signs of being eager to re-sign him. Wasn't doing anything with him. We would see him once in a blue moon. The man, that's why, he's come in and said, I'll be there every single week on AEW. Doesn't necessarily mean he'll wrestle every week, but he'll be there on the road. He wants to be full-time again to finish out his career, you know. WWE wasn't going to give it to him. So, what do these fans want? They just wanted him, you know, because I heard fans saying, oh, you know, but he gave that speech in WWE after Sheamus match and said that's it, you know. Rah, rah, rah. I said, no, you can take it any way you want. But realistically, if you're smart, think about this. In AEW, he's going by his real name. In WWE, he's known as Edge. That if he doesn't get a chance to go back to WWE, then he's still right in what he was saying. He was saying goodbye to that character and that chapter of his career and life. Yep. Right? Because he can't go as by Edge in AEW. It's the one thing WWE was smart enough to, you know, tie down. Mind you, after seeing that they didn't tie down the theme music and they didn't tie down the rated R moniker, I'm like, well, why didn't you just let him keep Edge? I mean, you've given him everything else bar the Edge name. Like, but look, anybody that's known him for the 30 years he's been in the business, as I said, you're a fan of certain wrestlers. Like, you kind of do your homework anyway, and so you know their real names. I've seen fans yesterday. Oh, no one's going to even know who the hell Adam Copeland. I'm like, yes, they do. Anybody that's an Edge fan knows that that's his name. Anybody that knows or has seen him, he was a regular on the show Haven on Sci-Fi Channel. He's been in some movies.
Yep.
Unlike The Rock, he was not credited as Edge. He was literally credited...
Right, because they weren't WWF or WWE
he was
productions.
Credited as Adam Copeland, right? So people know who he is, because it's not like he's a new guy. So, you know... everybody knows who Adam Copeland is.
And if by chance you didn't, you looked him up when you saw the hoopla, you know.
Exactly. I even seen some fans yesterday going, who the heck is he referring to? Is this, you know, his daughter's told him to go have fun with Uncle Joe. Well, if you've been a fan of Christian, and Christian's been around a minute, all you have to do is go look up a Wikipedia to see what his actual real name is, and then you'll work out who the hell Jay is. Right? So, you know, like... This is what I mean, like, the fans are out there saying, oh, he's going to go tarnished. No, he's not. I can't see in any way he's actually going to get used and used the way he wants to be used. He's actually getting an opportunity to go out on his terms, which WWE was not going to allow. As I said, that's why I bring it back to Bryan Danielson. Otherwise, Bryan Danielson would still be in WWE. They weren't going to allow him to go back to the schedule that he wanted to wrestle, because they were too concerned over his neck. That's why he left, because he wasn't going to be able to go out on his own terms. And I think that these wrestlers of this caliber, who have, you know, been in the business this long, right, that it looked for all sure money, you know, Shawn Michaels another one, when he done his back in and that, looked for all sure money that their careers were over. They've had a second chance basically at life here, second chance with their careers. They deserve the right to go out the way that they want to go out. And look, the way WWE was using Edge, that wasn't going to have a lasting impression for his legacy, in my opinion, because he was being used so sparingly. He was being used more sparingly than Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar, we know, is big time part-time. So, you know... and to the fans that are worried, as I said, that you know, he's gonna really mess himself. Look, the doctors have given him the full-blown clear. If the doctors didn't think that he could wrestle a full-time schedule in every single week, they would have said something. If he didn't think his body was up to it, he wouldn't have come out and signed a contract to be a full-time wrestler. But he feels great. The doctors are giving him all the okays. So let him do what he wants to do. Like, that's why I was laughing at a lot of those fans. I'm like, you're not him. He would know his body better than any of us. Right?
Yep.
It's his body. He'd know his aches. He'd know his pains. He'd know his limits. Like, right? And he feels like in the best shape of his career again. Like, he had plenty of time away because he had to be away because of his neck. Christ, how long was he out for? At least 7 years. He had a break away from wrestling, which was plenty of time. Like, look at Stone Cold. Stone Cold had many, many years away. And then, you know, everybody thought, oh, no, he'll never be able to get into a ring again. And over time, his neck healed that well and that good that he could. Now, obviously, by that time, he was older, so he couldn't, and it was more his knees more than his bloody neck anyway. It's his knees that still give him trouble today. That's why he couldn't come back like an Edge and do a full-time show. But he could at least come back and do matches every now and then, which he did, or,
Right.
Make an appearance and do a stunner and wouldn't have to worry about his neck. But, no, like, the uproar that he owed WWE anything, it was just beyond ridiculous. I think he doesn't owe WWE anything.
And sadly, they all get that. As
Yeah.
soon, we've seen it before. But how can he do that? He's betraying the W. No, he's
Yes.
not. No,
Yeah,
none of them
exactly.
do that.
As I said, it reminds me of the whole PlayStation, Xbox console war crap. You got fans that are WWE faithful, hate AEW. Then you got the same with AEW fans. Me, I'm just a wrestling fan. I watch all wrestling, so I don't care what the initials of the company are. I just want to watch wrestling. I'm not. That's always been me. I've never been faithful to one company. Even back in the days when it was WCW against W, I watched both because I love both. Right?
Yep.
Why limit yourself? And this silly fandom now, as I said, like he owed them. Like he just gave them almost 30 years of his damn life.
Yep.
How the hell does he owe them anything? And like was pointed out, he, with his last contract, he did all his obligations. His contract was over. If they, realistically, if you just want to yell at WWE. They didn't come to the table. They didn't.
They had first option, and they chose not to exercise
Yeah,
it. So,
exactly.
Okay,
So his options then came down really to either Impact, AEW, or New Japan, and it happens that AEW came to the table, which I knew Tony would jump at the bit for that, and I always knew it was going to be.
And I'm sure, I'm sure Christian was like going, "Hey, we got to get him in here if we can."
Yeah, And me and you had talked about before, because the rumours had been around months and months and months before that he wanted to have another run with Christian before they finally hung it up. Because, both of them are the same age. They're both 49. And so, to me, it was just a logical choice. I had a feeling for quite a while before it really was getting to that point. He's definitely signed that he was going to go there. The minute he could go there, I knew, because realistically, which would be a step down in his career, unless he went to NXT, where he could have got some new, fresh meat to, and that's what he was looking for. He had the hunger to verse people that he'd never versed before, or guys that he may have versed or went up against years and years and years ago, but it's been like a while. That's why another reason that made him go to AEW. Because the opportunity, like he said, he goes, what did he refer to it? He goes, it's just like a big juicy steak for me. I just want to dig in. That's how he said it in the media stuff. He's chomping at the bit. And I think this is going to be a nice way to finish out his legacy. I don't think you do see him go back to. He has no reason to go back to. He's already a Hall of Famer there. He's already in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
I think this is where he will finish his career. I think they'll get a good 3 years full time out of him. Pray to God.
And let me add to that again. As a wrestler, I could see him staying on as a backroom writer.
I think he will. Yeah. WWE had the opportunity to even have him, do that, and they weren't interested. I was like, these are just. In reality, it's WWE's loss, not his loss. They've just lost a guy that can still go in the ring, that can help a lot of your young talents. That I still think, and I think he will get a chance here. I still think could have a go at a world champion, and I think he will. Tony will give him a run as world champion one more time as a world champion, because he can still put on those matches. But I think he will. Tony will definitely be scripted because of just the wealth of knowledge. Tony's really.
To be blunt, they'd be stupid not to.
No, exactly. And you got, like Kenny pointed out initially, and Kenny only just met him, behind the scenes at the pay-per-view. That was the first time ever. You can tell there's not going to be any issues between him and the Elite. He met all them, he met everybody that I'd seen, the Young Bucks, and there's quite a few others. oh man, he's such a breath of fresh air. The positivity that just oozes out. Like, they all love him already. And as I said, there's a lot of them backstage that are meeting him for the very, very first time. Like, he was talking about how they shot the intro part of when they did come up, like, feature presentation. Then you had him get into a car, and Darby Allin took him out because obviously Darby knows Seattle. He's from Seattle. And they were filming to all early hours of the morning. And Adam goes, I was having fun. I was like a little kid. I'm hanging out the side of a Hummer filming, like, and like, he was like, you could see it on his face. Like, to me, that final little bit of run in WWE, he didn't look happy. He didn't look like he was enjoying himself. Yesterday, in that, not just in that ring, but at that media scrum, wow, could you see a really happy, like a kid in a candy store, reinvigorated guy. And I just as a fan was so happy for him to see that, because I felt that WWE kind of, with the way they were using him, he just kind of felt a bit left down and a bit down, and I've got a lot to offer, and and so I'm glad he's getting this chance. And I think this is, as I said, we're going to see some fantastic matches before he hangs it up. And again, he's reinvigorated. He feels like he's at the start of his career again, and he's got stuff to prove. And and I think that's great. Like, he's going to be beneficial in many, many, many ways. And in fact, I'm going to go as far to say I think he's even a bigger name, because he's been around a bit longer than Punk. I think he's a bigger name than Punk. I think
to people my age, he definitely is.
Yeah, I think he's going to bring more viewers to the product, to be quite honest. Not just because of his name recognition and people wanted to always see him in WWE. I think it's because of the positiveness surrounding him. I think people are like, okay, well, he's not a drama queen. Let's go. Let's check this out. Let's see what he's going to do over here. I think he is going to do for Tony what Punk should have been able to do for Tony, but I think this is going to be more significant. And I think they will find Punk moved the needle a little bit. I think Adam's really going to move the needle for him, like in ratings. I think they'll find that they're going to have a bit of a boost, a good injection in the ratings again now. And
especially if they can set off and start telling a good story with them.
Yeah. And he's even happy to help write stories too.
Yeah.
He was loving doing that back, like he was saying in the media scrum. They even at such an early young age, he was doing that back in the Attitude Era. He goes, I'd get told to piss off by some of the writers and even Vince sometimes, because he'd follow him around like a puppy dog, because he wanted to soak it all up. He'd do the same thing on a movie set. He'd follow the writer. That's how knowledgeable. So that's why I'm sitting there going, oh, this is perfect. You're going to have him and Bryan Danielson writing storylines for you now, not just for themselves or help them for other people or other feuds. Wow, you should get some great storyline, because both of those two guys, from people backstage at WWE, were credited at how good their writing was. That's why I'm surprised that WWE didn't want to hang on to both of them and move them into writers' chairs. Now this is Tony's opportunity to really, as I said, their weak point, we pointed it out, has always been the storytelling. He's got two guys here that have gotten insurmountable support as to how good they are. And Adam, I think, is going to be, if we see some outside this MJF storyline, if we see some more really great storyline, you're going to sit there and go, why do I have a feeling that Adam's behind this? The only other funny thing about this, that I thought about the other day too, they now have 3 Adams in AEW.
Yeah.
Adam Copeland, Adam Cole, and Adam Page. And I'm sitting there, you know what? I would love, just for shits and giggles, a triple threat match. For the real Adam to stand up. For the real, yeah. You can call it.
Who gets to keep his name? Who gets to keep his name?
You can call it. You could play on it and go, the Adam family triple threat match. You can make them as a trio. Go for the trios titles as the Adams, the three Adams.
Their group could be the Addams Family.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, they're so.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, like, I just thought about. I'm like, oh damn, they do too. They have got three Adams over there now. That could get interesting, especially if they're in matches against each other. But we know, obviously, poor Adam Cole's going to be out for a while. Man, he's a little trooper, but damn, did he shatter that foot of his. Whew, I seen photos of it. His foot blew up like a balloon, man.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. And he only just returned, man, from an injury. I'm like, oh, the bad luck for this poor guy. And all he did, how he did it, was jumping off that stage the other week. That's how he did it. He just obviously a lot of weight on that particular foot and landed incorrectly. Yeah. I'm like, oh, this poor guy. You know, he just came back, really. Just won the tag title, Ring of Honor tag title, and then this happens. I'm like, good God. Like, so he's going to be out for a little while. So I don't doubt at some point they're obviously going to have MJF drop the tag titles because they're not going to have a solo guy carry him around for too long. But
right.
It'll all depend on what team. But no, this is great. I think this is great for the wrestling business. I think it fires up the fans that just enjoy wrestling. And like Adam Copeland pointed out in the media scrum himself, it's great that there's, he's all for the wrestling business just thriving all together. And it's great, he said, that there's, 2, 3, 4 companies now that, you got options for these wrestlers because, WWE sometimes gets bloated roster, and so not everybody's getting a chance to shine, and that. So it's good to have, especially with AEW's case, another major company. So wrestlers have got somewhere else to shine. They don't necessarily have to go to WWE,
Yep. I honestly think that even now with the cuts they made, WWE is still right at that bubble.
Mm. They are.
They have so many people they have to feature.
Oh, man, they have such a bloated roster still.
Yeah.
And even with the 3 brands, they still find trouble showcasing everybody.
Yep. Well, because as I noted last week, they've started to really mix and match those 3 brands right now are kind of meaningless.
Yeah.
You had a title match for the Tuesday night brand last Monday night. You had,
right.
Okay,
right. So that
you had Dom holding a Tuesday night title. He's not even supposed to be on that show.
No, exactly. That's why I was that was another reason I was kind of glad they had him finally drop it, because at least it's someone that's actually on that brand. You know? But no, man, like that was, wow, man, that was, I even geeked out, man. Like that was, even though I knew he was coming, but just to hear that music in a company that, look, for many, many years, I'm probably not the only one. Everybody probably thought he would always be with WWE and he would retire with WWE and that's all he'd ever be. So it's amazing when you see someone swap brands like that you just never think is possible. Like,
well, I think if AEW hadn't done what it's done in the last 3 years, you wouldn't be seeing it.
No.
He wouldn't go to New Japan. He wouldn't go to Impact.
Mm-mm.
AEW gives him a viable option.
Exactly. And as I said, he's getting to live out, more of his dream matches before he hangs it up. He's getting to help the industry and this new young company, because as I said, it's still young. They're only 4 years in. And this, as I said, this to me is a big shot in the arm. In fact, I'll go as far as to say, and I know Jericho is still a big name, but this is the biggest name that AEW has actually brought in and signed. I think he is the biggest name that they have signed.
You think he was big? I mean, Jericho was pretty big too.
Jericho's, he is, but I don't know. I just have Edge. I think it's because of
because of the DX thing, maybe. Yeah, because of
he just has that slightly little bit bigger name. I think, especially with the whole rated R superstar, than Jericho. Like Jericho's really at that winding down stage, whereas Edge, I think, still got more to give, and more that he wants to do. Whereas Jericho could really hang it up tomorrow, and he's done everything he possibly can, even though he is going to hang around. I think he said he's just recently signed another new multi-year deal anyway. So, but unlike Chris Jericho, who you can see he has changed his ring style, obviously, to match, because he has slowed down. He's not moving about as quick as he used to in the ring. He can't do a lot of the stuff he used to. Edge can still do everything that he's always done, and as I said, he still moves around like a bloody 2-year-old, man. Like, he still runs the ropes as quick as he's ever done, and same with Bryan Danielson. Like, they can really still go. And I think the other reason this is good is Bryan himself will be stopping wrestling and just moving to a backstage role very, very soon, because he promised his daughter, once she hits 7 years of age, he won't actually wrestle anymore. He'll still be a part of the business, but he won't actually wrestle anymore.
Right.
And like he said, he's a man that honours his promises, and that's what he's told his daughter and obviously his wife and that. So, and I don't think that's why he said recently, time's ticking. I don't exactly know how old his birdie is right now, but yeah, I'm guessing she's not far off turning 7, maybe in another year or two, maybe. But yeah, that's why it's good Edges here, because his daughters are at an age where they're telling him, no, we don't want you at home, Daddy. Go and have some fun. So no, good on him. And he was asked a question too. Before we do get on out of here, he was asked the question at the media scrum: will we see your wife Beth Phoenix show up? He said, well, not in the foreseeable future, but never say never. Because I know his contracts are. I don't know if her Legends contract is officially totally up with WWE, and that's maybe without actually saying it. That might be what he's alluding to. Like, you might not see her in the first few months since I've joined here, but maybe sometime next year when she's actually able to legally come over here and sign. Right. If she even wants to. So I think it's a possibility. But it might just be a little while yet, because as I said, I don't know what... I know she had a Legends deal over there too. I just don't know if she's still technically under contract with them or not. I mean, not that they're freaking using her anyway, so I mean, the least they could probably do is go, look, we'll end it early for you, so you can go over there if that's what you want to do.
And like I said earlier, it's not Vince, so they might play nicer,
Exactly. Exactly. And by the themes of it, the new company, I think that's another reason why they're obviously looking to more prominently feature the younger guys. Granted, you've still got guys there like Roman and LA Knight and that are up at nearly hitting the 40 mark. Seth Rollins is nearly hitting the 40 mark. But they're obviously
you gotta have the known guys there to kind of keep the brand going, to introduce the new guys. It's like.
But no, I'm looking forward to see what the next chapter and what they do next with him on Dynamite and Collision this week. He's on both shows. As I said, obviously his first feud coming in is going to be with Christian, which is going to be a good feud to see and watch play out. And yeah, I think some big things are to come. I think this injects new life into AEW. As I said, I don't know if it's going to be a new era per se, but maybe a new era if, say, the storylines start getting a lot better. Maybe we can look at it as a new area from that point of view, because, as I said, they've done a lot of things right. Their wrestling's probably the best wrestling out there today, but the one part that they were lacking was storyline-wise. Now you've got another serviceable person that could write some great storylines for you. I hope Tony takes advantage of it, because he'd be silly not to. Like you said, he would be really silly to let that knowledge go to waste. And he obviously has a taste and a want to write as well. He mentioned that. He wants to write and he wants to help out in every way, shape, form. So, take advantage of that and get the most you can out of him in all ways while you can.
Yep, absolutely.
That's all we have for you this week, wrestling fans. I thank everybody for joining us from the Rockin' One Trinity. Always good to see you, love, and your support's always fantastic. Six Slayer joined us in here. Michael Monkey Punch. Thank you, boys, for joining us. Timmo was in here. So was Graphic God Jay. Oh, hell, Joe. The man with the mythical beard, Dreadpool, was up in here. Pyro was up in here. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you all the lurkers as well. Paul, did you want to let the fine folks absolutely everywhere they can find you, sir?
A lot of places. You can find me on the application formerly known as Twitter as Cerebral Paul 1. You can find me on Twitch as Cerebral Paul. You can find me on Xbox Ambassadors channel on Tuesdays for Gaming Differently with Cerebral Paul. Tomorrow I will either be playing Gotham Knights or Lamplighters League. I haven't decided which yet. Excuse me. What time? 12:30. Oh wait, no, yeah, 12:30 p.m. Pacific, 3:30 p.m. my time. I moved my time a while back. I always have trouble remembering. Let's see, and then you can find me tomorrow night on Retro Renegades. Wednesdays, I don't know. Spooky hasn't told me when it's going to be my rotation back through on Wednesday nights. So I might be on Spooky's show, might not, don't know. And then on Thursdays, I'll be back here for 4GQ TV. Fridays, I'll be wasted with Wise, and that's about it, I think. I think I got everything.
Did you? Yeah, I think you mentioned the Renegades as well, so.
Yep, I did. Yep, Tuesday nights.
There you go, folks. Everywhere, and anywhere. And if you look left, you look right, you'll find him there. Always great to talk wrestling with you, brother. You can always also find me at Spooky TBG everywhere. I'm on PC these days, but if you've got the Xbox app, I'm on there. I can talk to you. I can also play with you, game with you there still. And you can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter, of course. And every Monday evening with the Pop-Up Powerbomb podcast right here on 4GQ TV. And every Wednesday evening with the Backlog Bastards also on 4GQ TV. What were you going to say,
and
Paul?
don't forget, next Monday we will be back after the WWE pay-per-view.
Yes.
Fastlane, and we'll see if they found Roman yet. We'll see if Roman's been found yet.
I hope they have a card together, brother. I hope they have a card. We've got like 2 or 3 matches. That's it. Although at least John Cena found a partner, so that's something.
Yep.
But we will have another pay-per-view to cover next Monday for y'all, and so that should be a good show. And check that pay-per-view out. As I said, hopefully over the programming leading into it, we get some more matchups announced. Great to hear.
They announced more tonight, I believe, but yeah.
Oh well, there you go. Yeah, we're on Raw, and they still got SmackDown to go beforehand as well. So yeah, that build's been a funny build for that pay-per-view, but hopefully it's a good pay-per-view nonetheless. So do look out for that. And we got 2 games, 2 folks, since we're gamers too, and most of you that joined us tonight are gamers as well. Assassin's Creed is out in a couple of days, Assassin's Creed Mirage, and if you've got the early access for Forza, it's also out. I think on the exact same day for early access.
Forza drops on 12:01 midnight local time on Thursday morning. So.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, and that I think the Mirage is also on Thursday as well. So 2 games there if you've pre-ordered them or looking out for them. Otherwise, with Forza, you wait till the 10th next week and it'll be on Game Pass. So yeah, 2 fantastic games this week. And then I think Alan Wake 2 at the end of the month is the other big game for October. Oh, no, sorry. And Spider-Man 2 as well. So you got 2 more games after this for the finish out October. So keep an eye out for them. Oh, and also on the wrestling game side of things, AEW just released the Hookhausen pack. So now you can play as Hook and Danhausen. I do not doubt for a second too that in a future pack, because they treating this like a live service game where they're not going to release a game every year, they're just going to keep adding to this game. Give it about 6 months, I reckon, and you'll have Adam Copeland as a downloadable character for this game. I do not doubt he's too big of a name not to include as a future DLC. And Kenny Omega is always constantly saying we will be adding more match types and more wrestlers to the roster. So the roster is going to continue to grow. And I've said this before too. I actually like how they're handling this. I wish WWE did this with their games instead of just releasing a yearly game. Just keep updating, and if you release a superstar, we'll take him out of the game and replace him with someone else that's in, that would be the best way to do it, because you can constantly keep the game updated and you don't have to feel rushed to put out a yearly product then. You could move maybe to a 2-year cycle, if you did it that way, or a 3-year cycle if you want, and I think WWE games, just in that regard, work, I think, really well with that, because the rosters are, as we all know, being wrestling fans, are forever changing. So one aspect with wrestling that's forever happening. People are getting released, they're going off to another company, and then new people are coming in. So hopefully in the future, these devs behind these wrestling games just keep doing that, because that's how I'd like to see it, because you would constantly have an updated roster. And I know that's something that gets nitpicked a lot, especially with the WWE. The roster that you brought the game out, it's already outdated. So you wouldn't have that people whinging if you did that, but it is what it is. 2K runs WWE games, and they like to make a buck. So
yeah, so as long as that's going to happen, which is going to be forever.
Yeah, that's right. So probably no chance in that. But that's all we got for you, folks. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day or evening, wherever you may be. And we will catch you all next time. See you later, everybody.